Hi, this is Mike again. Today I wanted to talk to you about one of the 7 different homeschooling options out there. I am going to talk to you about one of the different methods and not any specific curriculum you might use. In order to begin your journey in homeschooling, you first need to make a decision to withdraw your kids from the public school system. Next, you need to figure out who will serve as the teacher for your kids. Will one of the parents be the primary teacher, will one of the grandparents be the teacher, or will you hire someone to teach your kids? Or will you join with other parents and share teaching responsibility? The next decision you have is to determine what type of teaching method you want to employ. That is where this video comes into play. We have attempted to identify different teaching methods. Some are Christian-based, and some are not. We recommend using a Christian-based method in order to ground your kids in God's Word and correct some of the indoctrination that your child may have experienced in public school. You can use the Christian curriculum in any of these different methods of teaching, and we will discuss the different curriculum in upcoming videos on the homeschooling topic. One of the key advantages of homeschooling is also among its biggest challenges, which is the various options that are available. Homeschooling is roughly as old as humanity, but according to the Coalition for Responsible Home Education, the modern homeschooling movement can trace its roots to John Holt's writing on unschooling back in the 1970s. Later came the Christian homeschool movement in the 80s and 90s. By 1993, homeschooling was legalized in all 50 states. With the swelling ranks of homeschools came an influx of different options. Homeschooling effectively set off an earthquake in the educational world. It triggered flooding in the market of school choices, with a veritable tsunami of methodologies, curricula, publishers, projects and whatnot. Today, newcomers and veterans alike may find the sea of options overwhelming. To help you narrow down the search, we offer an overview of the leading homeschool styles. As you hear about these summaries, think about what sounds most appealing to you and what would best suit your needs. For each homeschooling teaching method, we have included resource links. Hopefully, this gives you a better idea of how you want to structure your homeschool environment. Once you figure out the method or methods you wish to employ, you can better identify the curriculum that you will use. Homeschooling can be as traditional as school-at-home programs where students study the same stuff at home as do their peers at the local school. Or homeschooling can be as radical as unschooling education where the lessons are student-directed explorations devoid of homework and tests. We hope this rundown helps you weigh your options and find the homeschool method that best suits you and your kids. We will be presenting 7 main approaches to homeschooling. For each method, we will identify benefits and drawbacks. Listen closely to each method so you can decide which one or ones you wish to employ. The 7 methods we will be discussing are Classical, Charlotte Mason, Montessori, Unschooling, School at Home, Unit Studies, and last Eclectic Education Method. In the next few minutes, we will introduce first, the unschooling method with its considerations of the benefits and drawbacks. Following is a brief sample assessment describing the general personality best suited for the unschooling method. If that method really appeals to you, and it looks like it fits your personality, then you can dig deeper by using the resource lists, which link to pertinent teaching guides, curricula, and homeschooling networks that we will provide with the video. Bear in mind, there is considerable overlap between many of these educational models. This means that there is plenty of room, if needed, to share and borrow ideas between styles. Homeschool teachers typically mix methods and materials liberally. But to avoid any unsavory creations, it's probably best to get a good working knowledge of your teaching materials and methods before splicing them with others. Now let's discuss more the unschooling method, its considerations, benefits, and drawbacks. The next method we will discuss is one called unschooling. Based largely on the work of homeschooling pioneer John Holt, unschooling is a free-form learning model which is student-centered, unconventional, and individualistic. Learning plans and study projects focus largely on the student's interests but with high priority on experiential, activity-based, and learn-as-you-go education. Unschooling will consist of some systematic and rigorous teaching when it comes to basic skills like reading, writing, and arithmetic, but this is often administered with a variety of technology and materials, and typically without conventional testing evaluation. Unschooling allows homeschool parent-teachers to question most everything about conventional schooling, whether public, private, or homeschooling. In this model, parent-teachers tend to be facilitators rather than lecturers, instructors or otherwise conventional teachers. To get more information on this method you can go to johnholtws.com and unschoolrules.com. So what are the benefits of the unschooling methodology? Unschooling is probably the most unique homeschooling option in the bunch. And since it veers widely from school-at-home and classical models, it can appear strange and impractical. However, with an open mind and a sense of adventure, Parent-teachers can find great benefits in this style and just might find it to be the most organic fit for their parenting style and their child's personality. It is adaptable. This method is easily the most flexible methodology out there. Unschoolers might even be uncomfortable calling Unschool a method at all, because it's so adaptable to the needs and interests of each unique student and teacher. It is passion-driven. Unschooling allows students to academically explore their own passions like skateboarding, whales, baking, gardening, medieval weaponry, African folklore, or mixed martial arts so their study aligns with their interests. It has a loose structure. Parent-teachers can direct education loosely, by providing minimal structure and an array of options from which students can choose their unique course of learning. It is multidimensional, while conventional schooling, and some of the other homeschooling methods, are two-dimensional, focusing almost exclusively on flat book learning and written words. Unschooling favors experiences, holism, and interaction, all of which can facilitate richer learning. Unschooling typically incorporates lots of books but adds a depth of experience through living encounters and access points for students with different learning styles, that is, it has multiple intelligences. It dignifies diversity. Unschooling treats each student as a unique and creative individual. Unschooling is to conventional schooling as freelance art is to factory production. Unschooling savors the individual creative expression over assembly line efficiency. It is modified parenting. Unschooling dovetails well with parenting. Both are typically free-form, both adapt to each child, and both invest in the child's development according to their unique personality and gifts. Unschooling essentially adds an intentionally educational dimension to parenting. The drawbacks are essentially the flip side of the benefits. Parent-teachers who unschool will find that this method can challenge their expectations. Some may be required to make on-the-go adjustments to ensure the adaptive flexibility of unschooling doesn't unravel into a formless educational experience. It is reactionary. While unschooling offers an exciting alternative to other schooling methods, the very term unschooling is reactionary. That's not surprising. If you read unschooling books by John Holt or Clark Aldrich, you'll note this connotation. Unschooling reacts against the limitations and failings of other school models. This fact isn't necessarily a bad thing. It does, however, carry the risk of being negative in its most basic orientation, as if backing away from the mistakes of others is a safe guarantee against making parallel mistakes in the other direction. Parent-teachers need to be careful that they aren't just reacting against conventional models and throwing out the proverbial baby with the bathwater. It has a lack of structure. Students may need more structure and rigor than the SUN method provides. Unschooling allows for facilitators to implement added structure where needed, but it may not be sufficient order or oversight for some students. Again, it is humanistic. Underneath a great deal of unschooling theory is a broadly humanistic view of children. 5. This humanism can be a good corrective against overly mechanistic and industrial models of education. But if you don't agree with that psychological theory, then you may find yourself questioning the wisdom of such a free-flowing and student-directed education. It can create knowledge gaps. Unschooling can be sporadic and unsystematic in covering content. This pattern permits knowledge gaps for students and can leave them without important core competencies which they may need down the road. It can create redundancy. Parent-teachers can be left reinventing the wheel. By rejecting schooling generally, one is left trying to remake ways to address the same timeless problems which school used to address. Sometimes, the old-fashioned way actually represents proven wisdom, not to be discarded lightly. Unschooling might be right for you if you are pretty cynical towards conventional traditional schooling. You think classrooms basically teach kids how to be in a classroom. You believe that most of what we learn in school is useless information, soon forgotten. You believe learning is richer, better, and more indelible when it's aligned with our immediate needs and interests. You trust your student, generally, to know what's best for him or her, provided there's a little structure and a lot of freedom. You or your student tend to think like entrepreneurs, try new things, learn about distant and often unrelated subjects, and you like to invent things from scratch. Your student already tends to create learning projects for himself or herself, such as learning all the dinosaur names, memorizing baseball statistics, doing crossword puzzles, or cooking casseroles. I hope discussing this homeschooling method was beneficial. As I mentioned before, some of the methods are set up for the Christian curriculum, and others are less so. The curriculum available will be discussed in other upcoming videos. Be sure to watch our other videos on homeschooling methods. There are a total of 7 methods used in homeschooling. They are classical, Charlotte Mason, Montessori, unschooling, school at home, unit studies, and eclectic education. Nehemiah Reset has produced a video on each of these methods. You should be able to find them on nehemiahreset.org, our website, and on our Rumble and YouTube accounts. We look forward to seeing you again on one of these videos or on videos on other cultural issues. Thanks for watching.